Welcome to another episode of Got Time with Christopher John, your scholar and gentleman in a hoodie. Classism directly impacts hypocrisy. Classism is a prominent guiding light towards prejudice and discrimination within the construct of social class. It includes attitudes, behaviors, systems of policies, and practices that are set up to benefit an identified upper class at the expense of an identified lower class. The grouping of people in a hierarchy is often based on wealth, income, education, occupation, and most significantly, race and gender. In the continuous struggle against classism and other forms of dehumanization, I wish to spotlight three women: Zora Neale Hurston, Fannie Lou Hamer, and Mary McLeod Bethune. Zora Neale Hurston was an influential writer who captured the richness of Black culture in her works. She documented the folklore and traditions of the Black community in the South through vivid storytelling and keen observations of genuine experiences. Hurston's contributions to the literary continues to resonate and preserve the cultural heritage of the Black community. Fannie Lou Hamer was a remarkable activist known for her powerful voice and relentless spirit. Born into poverty, she rose to prominence in the 1960s as a leader in the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. Her courage and determination inspired many, and her legacy is a testament to the essentiality of grassroots activism and the unwavering pursuit of justice. Mary McLeod Bethune was an educator and civil rights leader who dedicated her life to education and empowerment. She founded the Daytona Literary Industrial Training School for Negro Girls, now known as Bethune-Cookman University. Her influence extended to national politics, where she advised President Franklin D. Roosevelt and founded the National Council of Negro Women. Her commitment to education and equality is one to be revered. Nothing but the utmost respect for these foremothers. Joining me is an outstanding public historian and educator. She is the executive director of blackpast.org, the world's largest online encyclopedia on Black history, founded by historian Dr. Quintard Taylor Jr. She once served as the president and CEO of the Northwest African American Museum, where she led innovative, transformational growth. She founded the African American Cultural Ensemble, the nation's first permanent museum choir. She also founded the Elders Circle, the James Baldwin Circle, the Descendant Series, and Knowledge is Power, a cultural literacy program that freely distributed 25,000 illustrated African American children's books. The motto that guides her is, "To thine own self be true." My sister, with a great pleasure, LaNesha McCoy Debardelaben. Thank you for taking the time to join me here today.
Chris, it is so good to be here with you and your listeners. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And so, I've been knowing you for such a long time, and you threw me a curveball coming into our talk here today and about your name. And as we were talking before we came on, we were talking about unpacking our lineage and our roots, discovering that, and the adding of McCoy to your name. Can we talk a little bit about that, and what is the journey to including McCoy into your name, and if you could share that with us?
Mm-hmm. Those who knew me for the first 24 years of my life only knew me as McCoy. as LaNesha McCoy. So I am returning to my family name. I'm returning to my birth name in honor of my and in memory of my father, my mother, and my brother. There is deep meaning and identity to our names, and this is an important reclamation or reclaiming of a name that my father and my father's father and my father's father carried, and it means something to be a McCoy. We are people of integrity and intensity, and so I am excited and delighted to return and reclaim my family name.
Integrity and intensity. I love that. So I have to ask this question. The historian in me, is there any connection with Elijah McCoy? And for my listeners who don't know the story about Elijah McCoy, have you ever heard the phrase "the real McCoy"? That is steeped to the history and legacy of a black man by the name of Elijah McCoy. And so I'm just curious: is there any lineage or connection to Elijah?
I have always wondered that, and I have not done the genealogical tracing of that, but I do have an affinity for both Elijah and Mary McCoy. We know so much about Elijah McCoy, who was a great inventor and scientist and engineer, innovator, but we don't know much about Mary McCoy, his
Mm.
other half. She was a trailblazing leader in women's suffrage and women's rights at the turn of the 20th century. And so I have always, if not had a biological connection to them, I've certainly had a symbolic and a personal and cultural connection to Elijah and Mary McCoy.
Outstanding. Well, I look forward to learning more, and learning if there is a connection. Especially with that powerful couple. And so, blackpast.org has been a remarkable resource for me and many scholars and historians. So, can you tell me, as far as your perspective on how it continues to be this powerful resource, especially under this rollback when we talk about Black history? How does BlackPast.org continue to be a force?
It is the leading online repository that is preserving, promoting, presenting, and publishing on African American and global Black history. Since it was founded by Dr. Quintar Taylor in 2007, it has engaged with over 65 million users. It is a site that is deeply uh, credible, accurate, accessible. We say that we have 10,000 pages, and they're all truthful and they're all free. They're fully accessible and they're fully accurate because there is a scholarly foundation to all that blackpast.org does. It is a worldwide educational resource. Teachers and students and researchers and journalists, literally from all over the world, go to this site to rely on getting accurate information about Black history.
Outstanding. I know that I have. It's my go-to. I believe in trying to find the most accurate information when we're looking at a historical information and facts. You have to go to multiple resources, but blackpast.org is one of those resources that I continue to go to time and time again. And so I'm so appreciative of Dr. Taylor. I know he joined the ancestors. Here on this platform, we honored him, with that transition. And recently, I tuned in for the celebration for him as well, that you shared with me the link to. And you are operating out of that legacy. And I just appreciate the great work that you're continuing to do to elevate that resource.
Thank you. It is certainly a team effort. We salute, all of the board members and all of the volunteer content contributors. These are people who Dr. Taylor trained to write Black history, to interpret and publish on Black history. So Dr. Taylor's legacy will continue to live on and fuel what we do at blackpaths.org. He was an icon. He was the preeminent historian on African American history in the West in particular. And so we are just honored to carry on his work.
Absolutely. So I want to shift the conversation a little bit to get into the core of our conversation to address about classism and hypocrisy. And classism is a prominent, in my viewpoint, a prominent guiding light towards prejudice and discrimination. So could you provide your take of the legacy of classism and its ties to hypocrisy?
Yes, well, when we talk about classism, it really is rooted in the fallacy of white supremacy. It's closely related to two other oppressive systems. It's closely related to caste, and it's closely related to colorism. They are all interrelated, but they are distinct. Classism is this discriminatory system of categorization that's based on these mainly economic and social factors like person's wealth and educational level and type of education and organizational affiliation and income, and even a person's you know manners, and those sort of ways of being are stereotyped and are kind of categorized, and people are placed in these
Categories or
uh, misperceptions and
okay.
perceptions. Yes, and so classism has always been, a problematic and nuanced and complex reality of course, in our country, but also in global systems, because it is related in a bit to caste, which is this another discriminatory system of categorizing people, but that is based on this sense of heredity and this sense of hierarchy, and that system assigns individuals at birth to this station in life. Classism has this less rigid, like there's this sense of mobility in terms of class, going from one class to another. And then there's colorism, which is another problematic discriminatory system um, of value based on the visible pigmentation of a person and their proximity to whiteness. And so all of these are troubled systems that have really determined relational disconnection with people across time and across space.
Right. I do see colorism, how that continues to play out throughout time, but in current times as well. It's this perception, of a darker skinned person, of being, less intelligent, of lesser value. And I've seen that played out even when in my childhood, and as well as in adulthood, and it's something I feel that is so deeply rooted that it continues to show up, and we don't talk about it enough. I know there was a documentary, I think a few years back, that talked about colorism as it relates to women, and so forth, and we have to understand it's such a superficial part of your appearance to assume or judge someone based on, it breaks it down. It's not even just between, darker skin or lighter skin. It's like these different spectrums and range. And so I find love and beauty in all the spectrum of blackness,
Yeah.
and so because I see, as you can see in my T-shirt, all of us, we are God's children, and if you don't see the God or the spirituality in that person, then it makes it easy for you to demean, devalue, and discriminate against that person.
You're absolutely right, Chris. All these systems, classism, caste, colorism, they're void of love. Dr. King said love is that unconditional goodwill toward every other human being. And these systems literally devalue people. They are stripping people of their human right to personhood. We cannot control, how we're born and the conditions of our birth and the situation that we're born in. And so people have to navigate through these experiences of being devalued, of their humanity being devalued within colorism and classism. And there's this sense of, false inferiority and false superiority when it comes to classism. And these sets of just encoded assumptions about people. Colorism has been an issue, particularly for the Black collective, uh, for centuries. It
Absolutely.
really, and again, it's rooted in this white supremacy. So many of our female ancestors were sexually violated and were forced to give birth to children who had a different hue than them,
Hmm.
a different skin color and skin pigmentation than them. And so, I mean, it's very complicated. It shows up, colorism shows up in so many spaces in the Black collective. It shows up in our organizations, in our
Yes.
churches, in our schools, in our families. I mean, I have heard stories of my elders telling me about just how colorism even was an issue with my great grandmother, who married into a family that had very light pigmentation, and she was not, and and she was looked down upon, and the family looked down upon um, my great grandfather for marrying her, and so it's it shows up,
Yeah.
and we have been it's a part of the struggle, it's a part of the ongoing Black freedom struggle. We have to free ourselves from even these own battles of collective dehumanization, devaluing, and self-hate, self-loathe.
It is definitely a part of this generational trauma that continues to show up. And you mentioned women, and I want to make a emphasis on celebrating and acknowledging the plight of women, especially amid Women's History Month. And so, can you talk a little bit about the scholarship that you've been working on as it relates to the role of Black women from past to the present?
Absolutely, yes. Again, when we think about colorism, Black women have had to define and redefine what beauty is, what intelligence is, what character is, because historically, all though we have been attacked in those places in our sense of beauty and intellect, and contribution to society. And so I'm studying how Black women have combated and overcame these marginalizations in historically. I'm particularly, though, really fascinated by the ways in which African American women engaged in intellectual activism to advance a greater sense of inclusive democracy in American history. And I look at how Black women engaged with the YWCA, the Young Women's Christian Association, and um, how they had to literally, fight to remake, to reform, to recreate what the YWCA meant as an organization, what it meant to the nation, because it was historically a segregated organization, and Black women at one point were not allowed, to join the organization,
Yeah.
and they fought, they got in, and they fought to make that organization live up to its truest ideals. And it was 100-year journey.
Right. It's amazing, especially when we talk about hypocrisy. You have an organization that illuminates Christianity, but yet they're willing to discriminate, other human beings based on race, based on skin color. And the one thing that came out of it in preparation for this is that I've worked with the YWCA, and I've always was impressed by a part of their mission is to address racism, is to address and diminish racism in this country. And I know that the YMCA, the Young Men's Christian Association, I've never seen anything addressing that. And it's through your scholarship, you kind of if you can touch on a little bit of how that came to existence, to where nationally this organization decided to make that a part of their mission.
Right. It is a fascinating story, Chris. Today, the mission and motto of the YWCA is to eliminate racism, empower women, and ensure that people have a sense of dignity and self worth. Well, that piece, eliminating racism, that was not always there in their mission statement at all. So, when the YWCA was established in the United States in 1858, it landed among, white women, upper class white women on the East Coast, and Black women, as I said, they were barred from affiliation. By 1893, by the 1890s, Black women were gradually allowed to affiliate and join the YWCA, but on separate but equal terms. And so there were these colored YWCAs and then the
Yes.
mainstream Ys. And Black women said, "Hey, we'll take this, and we're going to empower and uplift our community with these YWCA resources." Um, but they said, "But we're not going to stop here. We're going to eventually ensure that this organization is an inclusive, interracial, and not just biracial organization." So in 1946, Black women helped to pass what was called the Interracial Charter, and the Y committed to integrating into becoming an inclusive organization. It was a 20+ year journey. By 1970, Black women um, created this demand upon the YWCA and said there is one imperative that is essential for the YWCA to live up to. And that is to eliminate racism by any means necessary. Because when you eliminate racism, you deal with all the other isms. You deal with sexism. You deal with environmentalism. You deal with all these other problems in society when you first address and tackle the main one, which is racism. So, Black women led the movement to change the mission of the Y in 1970 through this initiative called the One Imperative, where they said, by any means necessary, the Y is about eliminating racism. And here we are,
Wow.
50+ years later, that mission continues to be true for the Y, this organization that is literally saving women and children's lives through uh, domestic violence resources and shelter and housing in times of need and empowerment. But first priority is making sure that racism is um, addressed and um, eventually, eliminated in our society. And we're still on that path.
I think about that work, and a thought that comes to my mind when you were speaking about that legacy and that beautiful history is that how we love each other matters. How we love the least of us matters. You're talking about providing provisions and places for women, coming out of horrible social situations, domestic situations, and so forth. But at the same time, understanding that how entrenched racism is and how it's connected to so many other isms is very important for us to have the grasp that understanding in doing that. And that's
Absolutely.
that. I mean
Because
that.
when you think about the whole concept of Black feminism, that is what Black feminists from the 1960s and 70s, that's what they were arguing. This sense of intersectionality, that these oppressions um, are interrelated and they're intersectional, and we have intersectional identities, as people. I'm not just a woman. I am not just African American. I'm not just, a Christian. I'm not just. So we have all of these intersecting identities, and these identities are oppressed um, at various stages, at various levels. And so we have these compounding experiences of oppression that we have to deal with. And Black feminist theory has said intersectionality is something that we have to understand, that we have to grapple with. We're not just one dimensional. And the Black women of the YWCA certainly understood that in the 60s and 70s, when they forced the Y to deal with the intersectionality of our lives.
Absolutely. I think when you look at an individual and you acknowledge all the identities that they hold, we're talking about women. That's somebody's mother. That's someone's daughter. That's someone's sister. That's someone's aunt. That's someone's niece. That is, when you take all those into factors, it really does erode the hypocrisy that steeps up in you because when you say that to love thy neighbor, but then you turn around and you do the most vile things. That's the exact opposite of love to your neighbor. It really does feed into that hypocrisy because you don't see them with those all those identities because those are identities that you can relate to yourself once going back into you. If you don't see yourself in others, then that makes it easy for you to demonize them and discriminate against them. And so the work that I would say the YWCA was forced into doing, promoted into doing by these wonderful foremothers is something astounding. And I can't wait because I know you are working on something. It's in the works, and so we won't get ahead of everything. And I can't wait for all that to come out. I do want to ask you. I'm going to do something a little bit different here because we're talking about. I want your immediate response to this quote that I'm about to give you by Maya Angelou. Prejudice is a burden that confuses the past, threatens the future, and renders the present inaccessible.
Mm,
What comes to your
that's
mind with that quote?
that says it all. That says it all. That says it all. I mean, it's all encompassing. It is all encompassing. Prejudice is that oppression that burdens us um, historically. It tries to cut off our destiny,
Yes.
and it um, it delays our present progress. Dr. Maya Angelou had a way with words and a way with wisdom, and that phrase certainly gives us a greater understanding of how harmful, how hurtful, how deadly prejudice is, because it
Yeah.
not just stifles us in a very practical way, but it also depresses and suppresses and oppresses our spirit.
Mm. Yes.
And there are invisible oppressions, like we can physically see when someone is being mistreated, um, and harmed, based on these outer, um, realities. But when someone's spirit is, being, what a lot of current educators call spirit murdering
Mm.
someone's spirit, like really, um, killing the hope and the sense of possibility. And so that's why love is so critically important. There's an ancient text in the Bible that says, "By this shall all people know that you are my disciples, if you have love one for another." Love is what, lifts. There's that song that says, "Love lifted me when
Mm-hmm.
nothing else would help," because it is that, energy that gives life to, um, dead things, to dead hopes, and
Yeah.
to dead spirits. It gives life. It brings, a sense of, vitality to us. And so, Dr. Sister Maya Angelou, was right, and I think that the remedy to that, is love,
It's
is
love.
love, is collective love, is agape love, is unconditional love. It's, loving beyond the
Wow.
current moment and the current pain.
Yep. It's really tapping into the spirit of our humanity, that reaches across racial lines, and really diminish any hypocritical type of thoughts and emotions that we will have. If you had, I know there's probably, I just want one. Do you have a favorite shiro or foremother? Or if you have multiple, which I probably you do, you know, which one could you share with us at this time, and why is this person your shiro? As you continue to work on your scholarship and do the work that you're doing.
Chris, thank you for that question. That is the hardest thing to do, is to narrow the list down to one of all the sheroes and the four mothers. But I will have to say one personal and then one cultural. So
Okay, I'll
personal,
take that.
thank you.
I'll take that.
Personal, it is my grandmother. I am a grandmother's girl.
Say
And
her name now. When people say her name, so we know who she is. Yes.
yes, 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 Miss Gail Johnson, Galia Yvonne Johnson, born in 1936 in our hometown, Saginaw, Michigan. But my grandmother, made all the difference in my life. We are having this conversation right here, Chris, because of Gail Johnson. She was, a force of love, of forgiveness, of grace, of compassion, of strength, of fortitude. And then, I would say the cultural shiro is Ida B. Wells. Ida B. Wells,
Oh yes.
the sister.
I've just said it before. I have a crush on Ida B. Wells, boy. Woo! If I could go back in time, yes, Ida B. Wells. Yes.
What draws you to her?
You talked about it's her spirit. It's her spirit and love for humanity. It's her spirit and love for black people, to where she was willing to broadcast. She was saying Black Lives Matter before it was coined a phrase or term. And, you know, it's just she used the power of the pen, her journalism, to fight against racism, to fight against the dehumanization of black folks, to fight for dignity of black people. And so it was that part that really resonates with me and I draw on a connection to.
Mm,
And so it's like as I read about her, it just seems like her spirit jumps off the pages when you start to research about her and learn about her. So yeah.
yes, her life teaches us so much from her earliest days. I mean, she was literally born into slavery, 1862 in Mississippi. And when her parents died, and the system wanted to separate her family, she said, no, my siblings we're gonna stay together. So she didn't go along. She didn't go, what is the phrase? Go along to get along. She never,
Yeah.
from her earliest, that she never went along to get along. She always was committed to what was
Yes.
best. And so she was fierce and fearless. She did not let um, current conditions inhibit her sense of possibility. She was an entrepreneur, right? She started her own thing. um, and it was all of this at a time when women's rights were suppressed. Women's rights were absolutely diminished at this time, and she was living beyond her times, ahead of her times, and she changed all of time because of that courage.
Absolutely. 100%. You speaking to the choir on that one. Absolutely. And so I want to thank you for, spending time with me. I know you're very busy. So my question to you is, what's next for you and blackpast.org? I mean, what does 2026 bring to you and blackpast.org?
Well, this is the centennial of Black History Month. We've been at this 100 years now, centering and celebrating our history. And so blackpast.org is on the cusp of its 20th anniversary. And so blackpast.org has just launched an initiative called In Defense of Black History, because certainly if we don't defend it, who will? In these times of book bannings and tax and curriculum dismantling. And so Black Past is engaged in an initiative, both a visibility and a fundraising initiative, to defend Black history, to ensure that this website and all spaces where Black history is preserved and presented is protected. So folks can go to blackpast.org to learn more about that. And then personally, I wake up every day working on this dissertation, writing about these Black women in the YWCA. And that's what's next for me until it's completed and the dissertation is done.
Well, absolutely. I can, as I said, I know that the work that you're continuing to do will shed light on this amazing history. And you are a force all the way out there on the West Coast doing what you're doing. I can't wait to actually see you. I'm quite sure I'll probably see you at a few of the upcoming conferences that we have coming up this summer. But it's just been a pleasure having you on the platform. Thank you for taking time to be with me here today.
Thank you, Chris. This has been a delight. Thank you, dear brother.
Through the lasting legacy of Dr. Taylor and under the current leadership of our special guest, BlackPass.org continues to be a credible resource. Be sure to subscribe, share, and support this platform as we continue to illuminate the meaningful contributions of our foremothers and our forefathers. And it's not only for our minds, our hearts, but for our souls, so that we can elevate the spirit of our humanity. I am your scholar and gentleman in a hoodie. Celebrate the wonderful women in your lives and know thy history.